Today's guest, Renee Schaver, is a creator of Soul Wisdom Integrations and a guide for those seeking deeper self discovery, intuitive clarity, and true energetic alignment. Blending ancient wisdom with modern insight, she draws from a wide range of modalities, including shamanism, energy healing, hypnosis, and mindfulness. She helps individuals to understand their patterns, reconnect with their soul, and step into greater wholeness. Her work is rooted in the belief that nothing is truly wrong, only patterns are waiting to be seen, shifted, and integrated. Through her grounded yet deeply intuitive approach, she supports others remembering who they truly are and aligning with their life with their with the life that their soul came here to experience. I was getting so excited that I was stumbling over my words. Thank you so much for coming to Spiritual Spotlight Series. I'm so happy you're here.
Well, thanks for asking me. I appreciate that.
So we're just going to jump right in.
Yeah.
So you describe life as energy and patterns rather than problems. What was the moment where that truth clicked in for you on a soul level
At a soul level?
or on a personal level, human level, whatever
Yeah.
level you feel comfortable in sharing?
Yeah. All of the above.
Spiritual, energetic, emotional.
Yeah. It's that I found like the patterns when I started seeing similar patterns, like in all the areas of my life, like my personal life, my professional life, my friendships with my friends, my health, all those kind of things. When you start to find the similar patterns and like, how I'm digesting life, right? We think about,
Yeah,
we always think about digest food, but we're also digesting life
so
and
true.
how that's coming in. So many of us, we've experienced the situation where if you're in a professional career and you have a very rough day, and then the next day you're like, well, I've got these digestion problems. It must have been something that I ate. But is it really what you ate, or is it how you had to digest something that maybe got tossed at you at the last minute at your day job? Or maybe in the family situation,
Right.
kids come in and something got thrown at you like you that you weren't expecting. So seeing the imbalances throughout different areas of your life and then finding like how that is um, repeated, it's coming up in different areas of your life. For me, I feel it was more of an awareness of the pattern
Mm.
of that imbalance or that the inability to process things like that. So if that makes sense.
No, that makes 100% sense. And how you just said it, could it be, is it something that you had to swallow down your words? Is it something that you said? Like it just, and that impacts your energy. And I think a lot of people don't realize that everything around us is energy. And how does that impact your body? And, how does that affect your digestion? There's a big connection with mind, body, gut
Yes.
connection. And, yeah, no, I love this. This is awesome. So, and I think this is something this a lot of your clients, for somebody who feels like something is off in their life but can't explain why. What's maybe actually happening energetically to that individual?
Well, I feel like, the emotions that we are expressing, how many times that you wake up in the morning and you feel fantastic. You're like, oh, I'm in a
Mhm.
good mood. I feel everything's good. But then you go and you have one interaction with somebody and they say something that you wouldn't think, the way they say it, the tone they say it, it triggers you. Then all of a sudden, like within 5 minutes, you're in a bad mood and you're ready to punch something. You know, what's the energy behind that?
Yeah.
I love using in something that a lot of my clients, when I use this story, they can relate to. It's like an event is just an event. 50 people can witness that same event, but how we interact with that or how we respond to that
Mhm.
event is based on what's happened to us in our life.
So
So
true.
it's our reaction to it. And so if you have an emotional reaction to something and it's, you're mad, you're angry, I always say, what was your trigger? That event, where's your wound? What's the wound behind it?
Yes.
And that could be from childhood. That could be from something that happened with a relationship or could be with the fight that you had with your spouse 10 years ago. If we don't emotionally process those things that are happening to us, they kind of fall like seeds in our body because like just the
Mhm.
energy, energy can be in the form of water, ice, um, liquid, solid, and so on. But if we freeze that inside of us and don't process it, cry, get frustrated, get it out of us, it just gets stuck in us and it's going to come out in some way or fashion. And if somebody triggers it, it's going to show in our emotions.
That is so, so true. As you're saying this, I'm thinking of a current thing that I know that I have to emotionally process. But to be honest with you, I'm having a hard time in figuring out what the trigger is and why I'm frustrated. So I guess for someone who maybe is tuned in, that they are aware that, okay, and I'll just share it personally. And I apologize if this is really off topic, but
No,
like
not at all.
my mom.
Our favorite people.
So my mom kind of grew up as my mom, as not really being a present mom in my life. But now my mom is, older and requires help and things of that nature. But the way that she spins it to look for help, it's very weird. I guess is the best way to put it. But so I help her and then there's no response from her. So I'm just like, I don't know how I process this, or do I just not help you anymore? And it's like, I understand emotionally, spiritually, what's going on, but I don't know how to work through it. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how to work through it.
So the underlying energy of that is you help her, but you don't get any response from it.
So she is terrible. It's like, because I'm a caregiver by nature, I'm a registered nurse. I run a doctor's office in my day job. So that's
Mhm,
like my life, what I
mhm.
do within. So maybe because it's not getting reciprocated, that energy exchange is not equal. And that's where I'm feeling the imbalance.
Yeah,
Maybe.
or could it be, was there something you said, was she present at all in your childhood?
Um, so up until like I was 6, and she wasn't capable to be a mother. That's probably the best, the nicest diplomatic way I can put that.
So perhaps there was an event back then that she, either the way that she cared for you, you didn't get your needs met.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like this. I love this, Renee. I'm like, listen, we'll have a sidebar conversation. She does do sessions. I was looking at them and I was like, yeah, Rachel's gonna book one. No, I would that's actually a fascinating, thank you. As you're saying that, I have like chills coming in, and that's like my resonance of like, okay, so maybe I need to go back and
Just,
dig
yeah.
in.
Well, and two, sometimes it is just you set the intention before you set
Yeah.
for your meditation. So set your intention to become aware of a time that may have been the topic or the emotion that was
Yeah.
being stirred up. And then if you sit with it, many times, or sometimes writing it down if it's your thing too. Like I said, I always write, but for everyone's so different. But if you
Yeah, I
set
like
that
to write.
intention and sit with it and then see, it's amazing what pops into your mind. So you'll have to let me know.
I am fascinated. I am totally am. So, do you feel that people are guided to the work that you do, or do they reach maybe a breaking point that forces them into it?
Probably
Maybe
both for
both.
different people. The thing is sometimes their emotions just a lot of people know me for my because that's the trigger, so we
Yeah.
going through the emotional body to figure out where their triggers are and what's flaring them up.
Yeah.
So I think for some it's both ways. And
Mhm.
some of them they just get to the point where it's just like, I don't want to be angry anymore. And I
Mhm.
don't know why I'm angry. And again, if it's across different areas of their life, where's that anger coming from? Where's the root of it? And
Yeah.
sometimes there's multiple roots with emotions like that. But diving into where it perhaps come from, and my clients always laugh when I say, "Yeah, let's go back to childhood," because so much, as you know, gets ingrained in children between the ages of 0 and like 7, because
So
we
true.
can't process things at that age. Our parents
Right.
says one thing, but then they do another, or they say something that adults speak and we think, oh, everyone understands it. Well, a 3-year-old isn't going to understand perhaps something that we're trying to explain to them.
Right.
Um, so we do go back to childhood a lot. And my clients, a lot of times they'll laugh like, yeah, here we go again. But then I start talking and I share with them what I see or what
Right.
visions are coming in for me. Like, what does this mean for you?
Right.
And to them, it means something. It means something. And they're like, oh, I forgot about the situation.
Right.
And to me, it's always crazy when I come up with something crazy like, I'm seeing an armadillo. What does this mean? Or I'm seeing a wishing well. And of course, it means nothing to me. And I used to
Right.
always question myself, but now I know it means something to whoever I'm speaking
Absolutely.
with. Yeah.
And I respect the fact that you're willing to still deliver the message, even though to you it doesn't make sense, because
Mhm.
it's impactful for the person that you're doing the session on. And I
Yeah.
love that you are like, no, I see an armadillo. And what does that mean? And I like that you brought up an armadillo, because when I was a teenager, I had a stuffed armadillo. Super random, and I loved it. I wish I could get another one. So you've studied a lot of different modalities. Was there ever a moment where maybe you felt overwhelmed by the spiritual world instead of supported by it?
Oh yeah. I think, everyone does at certain points. When you feel like you should be progressing further, or you feel like, why am I'm being guided to do this. I think this is something we can all relate to. We feel like we are guided to do this, but then it becomes complete disaster. And you're like, I followed my gut, but it came out like a flop. But then also oftentimes I get the message or the clarity later, like I had to experience that. I had to experience that bump in the road to like almost appreciate something more later. Or
Mm,
that bump led me to meet somebody that then later on helped me. So
yeah.
we often get mad with the bumps, but instead we should celebrate and go like, it's okay. It's okay that, we were both talking computer problems before, it's
Yeah.
okay that I hit that bump because then I became aware or I learned something or it led me to something else. So there's usually a silver lining. It's just we have to be willing to see it.
Yeah. I like that you are bringing that up, that I do feel like there are certain moments in our life where a bump is exactly what you need.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And if you can witness it and observe it and be gentle with yourself, then you
Hmm.
can realize this bump isn't detrimental to your current like moment in life. And then when
Right.
you look back and like, wow, that bump was actually very important in my journey. Yeah, I
Hmm.
like that you put. I really liked how you put that, and because I feel like as humans, I mean, we're in the United States and we have this hustle culture that I know we're trying to break, but
Yeah.
it's hard to like break out of that. And I feel like in the spiritual world, we get shiny thing syndrome, where it's like, oh, yeah, no, I need to do this modality. And I will tell you, at the beginning, I think at the beginning of this year, maybe even last year, I had to start messaging my friends and be like, I I'm going to send you a message to take this class and you're going to tell me I don't need it. Like, it's like, I don't need to have 57 certifications. I'm good. Like, go within. Like, it's so weird how we get so like enamored by, well, I get enamored by good marketing. I'm not going to lie. Give me a good marketing page. I'm like, sign me up, sold.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
It's so true. So, what made you shift? And this is actually a good next question. What made you shift from learning modalities to becoming an integration specialist?
Well, I am grateful that I have many friends that would push me outside my comfort zone to practice the emotional part. And then when I started doing like releasing emotions and diving into the
Yeah,
emotional body, that of course led me to further, to another modality. And then I started doing hypnosis. And I was just like, that's something that was never in my plan. I can't see me
right,
doing that. Yet when I took the classes, got the certification, everything, and then I just saw how well it blended with everything. Because if we can quiet the conscious mind,
right.
we can start those emotions that are just under the surface. The understanding of those could come up.
I like
So it's, yeah, when you can begin to practice one modality and then all of the other things that you practiced and you learn, you kind of integrate everything together.
that.
And
Right.
it's so fun now because I've tried so many things that when I'm working with my clients, I'll get some clarity like out of the blue. I'll be like, yeah, you need to try essential oils, or can you maybe try like maybe get some crystals, or
Yeah.
maybe you should try some yoga. And it's so funny because 9 times out of 10 they'll say, it's funny you should say that because I just, I just did or got a
I
book
love
or
that.
signed up for a class that it's like their own intuition was telling them. My
Right.
job was just to give them the clarity that you're on the right track.
I love
So,
that. I love
yeah.
that. And I like that you were willing to try to take on new modalities that maybe weren't in your vision. I will say I felt the same way when I learned like QHHT, because I was like, I never want to learn like a hypnosis type of training. I'm not like you are, but a little bit different and doing past lives. But then I was doing Akashic record work and I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I do want to learn this. And it helped actually deepen my Akashic record practice and bring in another layer of service to my clients, which I'm sure, kind of like what you do, definitely like with
Right.
you, what you've learned. It's like, oh yeah, well, we can dig in a little bit deeper now that I layer this in. So
Exactly.
phenomenal. I love that. So out of everything that you've explored, and it could be a couple different practices, what's a practice that maybe completely changed how you experience reality?
The soul path reading.
Tell
That
us
was
more. What's a soul
so
path reading?
um years ago. I mean, when I started, because I had health problems and I kind of hit the bottom with that. And then shortly later I took a class and it was about your soul. And honestly, at the time, it was just like taking a layer of dust. I'm like, I forgot about that whole other part of me.
Wow.
And so I had this soul path reading, and it told me what my soul came here to do, what my strengths were, what my focuses were, what were my strengths for me, like, to doing Reiki, and then to get into shamanism, and what
Right.
practices my soul really wanted to dive into. Having that soul path reading gave me those tidbits of information to explore along my path. And if I go back and I look at my original soul blueprint reading and that understanding my soul at that level, I can see now how naturally I started to bring different things in from that original reading. So here, 10 years later, I still pull that thing out probably every 6 months and kind of see, like, because at the time I was just like, me doing what? Me as a practitioner, me having my own practice, me
Wow.
doing this and that. But that soul path reading, it really gave me direction to over the long term. We have
Right.
these readings, and a lot of times we think, oh, tomorrow it's going to happen or the next week. The soul path gives us an idea of what our soul came here to do. And I think
Right.
that that literally changed my life.
I
So,
love that. And it's also like a lifetime blueprint. Like,
right.
this is what my soul is here to do in
Yeah.
this current incarnation. Like,
Right.
that's, and I love that it's awesome that you go back to it and you review it every 6 months. Like, that's really
Mhm.
cool that you do that. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I've done that. Done. Check, check, check.
Yeah. Well, some of the things, of course, have changed a little bit, but I can see
Of
how as the
course.
over you have to look at things at that higher level, at the soul level.
Right.
And one of the things that was always thought for me is just like, I personally, I like doing the same thing, I'm routine, but my soul
Right.
likes to try different things. So I have to respect that. When I'm being called to
Right.
get in the car and go on an adventure and drive across the
Right.
country, I'm like, well, my soul wants to go. And even though the ego self is kind of like, okay, by yourself, 4,100 miles, what's going to
Yeah.
happen? My soul is just like, let's go. And so we get in the car and we go. But to feed your soul as much as you do nourish your body, you have to feed your
Right.
soul too.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. And that's really awesome that you are like allowing your soul, like you're co-creating this life, with your soul and with, your spiritual powers and everything
Yeah.
like that and what you believe in. That's phenomenal. So you say that nothing is wrong, only patterns waiting to be understood. How can we begin to identify maybe our own patterns without spiraling into overanalysis?
Let go of judgment.
How do we
I mean,
let go of judgment?
just like we were talking about when something happens that we consider
Right.
wrong, maybe
Oh
it's
man.
not wrong. You and I could both witness the same thing,
Right.
and you're thinking of it, oh, that's a great thing. If somebody spills coffee on a presentation, the person that's giving the presentation is freaking out because that's their
Right.
only copy. But somebody sitting aside is just like, I don't have to listen to the presentation now. So again, it's just who's witnessing that event. It's not
So
nothing's
true.
wrong. It's just an event.
Right. So
So
true. And taking out that emotional reaction to it. Like it's
right.
okay. It's
It's
okay.
okay.
That's awesome. What's the difference between true healing and just becoming more spiritually aware of your wounds?
True healing is when somebody that triggers you constantly, when they no longer trigger you. That's true healing. When somebody that over time, you've I always use the reflective reality. The world around me is a reflection of what's inside of me.
Right.
So if somebody's triggering me, there's something that's in here that has to be resolved. And
Right.
so as soon as that person keeps triggering me, I keep going in to look within to see what it is. And also step back and go like, okay, maybe I'm just a lesson for them to learn, but then wait a little while and see if there's another trigger. When
Gotcha.
you can get to the point where you can honestly love that person for the lessons, the hoponopono, love them and
Yeah.
appreciate them for coming into your life to show you the
Right.
ones that you have. But when you can look at that person, maybe go give that person a hug in true love. I think that's true healing is when you can let go of any of the previous judgments, dislikes,
Right.
frustrations with that person. When you've healed that wound, that's true healing, I think.
Oh, that was an amazing answer. I'm just like, true healing. I love that. I really do. I'm like, amen. Like, no,
And
it's so important. Like it's so like when you get to yeah, that's amazing. I love how you just answered that. So when someone learns their soul's purpose or gifts, why do they sometimes feel more confused instead of clearer?
Because we come here, our ego self is like, we want to do this, this, and this. And it's become the habit. We get up and we think that we have to go to our day job and we have to follow society's rules. And, social media, the news is directing us that we have to go a certain way. And yet our soul is out there going, I want to go play and have fun, or whatever, whatever it may
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
And it's that confusion of, you get this and you're just like, wow, my soul really does want to do that, but I have to go against the grain of what I've always known. And that causes some rift, right? Because
Mm,
it's like, this is what we're comfortable with. Us
right.
humans, we get our routines, and we like our routines because we're comfortable in our routines.
Yeah.
But then our soul over here is going, you get a soul reading and you're just like going, my soul wants to do all of that. Well, when you get that guidance, you're not going to flip a switch and go from here to here. You're
Right.
going to, it's about integrating, slowly beginning to make steps that'll make your soul happy, and doing it in small bits, because you can't stop a train going, all the way, or a plane going Mach 2 all the time, and you just can't turn it around. You just have to
For sure.
slowly begin to integrate things that your soul wants
Right.
to do. And that could be 5-10 minutes a day. Like if you want to meditate, sometimes that's how we get started, is those baby steps. But it's amazing because time flies by so fast. In a year, you'll be meditating for 20 minutes. You'll learn your
Right.
yoga. You'll have your crystals. You know what works for you,
Right.
and can you continuously, evolving as a human. So
Oh, I love that. So you work with things or beings like the Arcturians, you do Arcturian healings and holographic blueprint alignments. How do you explain these concepts to someone maybe who's curious about them but skeptical?
it's just like, they're like, how do you connect with them? I'm like, it's just like making a phone call. You can call China, you can call the Amazon, you can call Mumbai, you can pick up the phone and call anyone around the world. I just connect with somebody on a different vibration. That's all it
Right.
is different vibrations and connecting in. As far as the healing work goes, it's a matter of trust. And oftentimes, after people have a session, and especially the holographic blueprint and the Arcturian healing, many times it's not,
Mhm.
again, you don't wake up the next day and notice a huge shift. Some people do, but
Right.
oftentimes it's over the next couple of weeks, they start to have, life just seems to go a little bit smoother. Maybe they get answers to something that they've been stuck on for a long time. Uh, when we work at the energy of the subtle energy body, things change smoother, slower.
Right.
But the thing is, it's also longer lasting. A perfect example is essential oils.
Right.
Essential oils work at the cellular level. So, when you start to use them for either a respiratory, digestive, emotional issue, it takes a little while for that to change. When I first started experiencing it, it took me like 6 weeks to notice something different. But then I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, it's more subtle change, but it's longer lasting.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I try to explain it to them that way and let them know that's like, it's just reminding your cells and your soul and your body the way it's supposed to go.
Mhm.
Our bodies, our physical bodies, are meant to heal.
Right.
And
Right.
introducing it that way, it allows it to slowly begin to realign with that vibration, to be in resonance with that perfect vibration, or more well-being vibration.
So have you ever had a session where something maybe happened that even surprised you?
Oh, many times, many times.
Is there anything that you feel comfortable in sharing?
Many. I think one of the most, I've shared this story before. I was working with a woman who, it was an emotional work that we were doing. And she had explained that she had a problem with her. Well, I said, I see something like with your neck, and she's just like, yeah, I have trouble turning my head. And something had happened in a previous life that had caused that. So I'm like, well, they're telling me they want to take it out. Are you comfortable with this? And she's just like, oh yeah, that'd be great. Neither one of us knew what to expect, but I literally
Right.
saw, like, if you consider it all, like you can just see a pencil coming out. Like I just saw this thing coming out
Wow.
of her like this. And
Yeah.
I said, just give it a minute. And I said, okay, how are you feeling? And all of a sudden she goes, oh, I'll be right back. I'll be right back. I'm like, oh my God, what happened? I'm so concerned for this. Well, she comes back in a minute. She goes, I had to go show my husband. She had never been able to turn her head like this. She'd always just on this one side. She could only go this far. Well, as soon as I took that out, she felt the pressure release. She turned her head and she had to go show her husband. So, I mean, that was, I
I
think, one
love
of the most,
that.
physically,
Right.
um, experiences. Then I was just so grateful that because she was doing the work, I was just guiding the energy,
Right.
but she was the one that had relaxed enough to allow that energy, that emotion to be removed from her. But to have people have those type of experience, you feel grateful just to be a part of it on their
Yeah.
healing journey.
I
So,
love that. I love that. That's amazing. And it's so true. Like you hear these profound healing experiences that people have. And like you just said, as long as you're, somebody who's open enough to see what can come in and you're open enough to channel in those energies, like
mhm.
it's like being in the right place at the right time. I love it.
And I always do remind the clients, and whoever's having the work, I said, they're doing the self-healing.
Right.
I'm just giving them the guidance and triggering them. Sometimes it's a matter, as as the host here, that it's a matter of asking the right questions,
Right.
to our conscious, to ourselves, like just asking those right questions. And many times I ask the questions to people that they don't want to ask themselves, but as soon as they ask it and that memory, that thought comes up,
Yeah.
there's like, oh, yeah, that's right. So it's being okay with just asking those difficult questions.
Yeah. And also and being okay, yeah, it's because I feel like as humans, we're we don't like being uncomfortable and yet we live in being uncomfortable a lot. It's a very fascinating thing to me,
Mhm.
how we sit in that. And I like that you're willing to dig in and let's ask some uncomfortable, maybe some difficult questions, and see what happens. I like that.
Well, they're usually everyone's grateful after the fact, after they've had, because
Right.
many times it brings the awareness up, and yeah, they might be upset for a day or two. I mean, I've had clients be like, "Oh, you're wrong," and I'm like, "That's fine, I'll refund your money. It's okay." Okay, but then the next week they're booking a session because there's like, so I realized afterwards.
I like that. You're like, that's what no, just kidding. You wouldn't
I'm
be
just
like
like,
that.
"Oh, I'm glad you had the awareness come up. I'm glad you had that awareness."
I like that. So many people are going through an awakening right now, but they're very dysregulated. How do we actually integrate spiritual growth into real life?
Baby steps. Baby steps. I mean, some of the simplest things for people is, the nervous system is a huge thing. I know that it's almost like a catchphrase now anywhere you look on social. I don't get on social media a lot, but I've started to see it, just when I pick up my phone to do for my business.
Right.
And I'm like, people need to remember that we have to look at all the pieces. The nervous
Mm,
system is overwhelmed, but we have to look at the emotional, the mental, and the physical body as well. But as far as getting back into your spiritual practice, it's taking time and putting the phone down and calming your nervous system down, leaving the phone away from your physical body because that's electromagnetic energy disrupts us. But doing simple things like that, take some time to be quiet. Take a bath away from everybody else. Take a walk in nature. Nature is so healing. But leave your phone either off or in the car,
yeah.
or turn it off airplane mode or something, so you can truly be present. One
Mm,
of the biggest things is people aren't present. When you can be present with yourself and be aware of what's going on, a lot of times if something's coming up, you can sit and feel it in your body, like, where am I feeling this anger? And you may feel it where it's at in your body. So to get into spirituality, begin to take steps in your physical life to begin to move toward that. And the other huge thing is trusting ourselves. We all have this wonderful intuition, but many of us doubt it. And when we get clear messages, we don't follow it. So
yeah.
that says to our angels and non-physical team in spirit that she's not trusting when we give her the information. So it is a matter of developing a trust with ourselves, so we can trust that gut feeling when we have it. So
Yeah, absolutely. It's so true. Like we can get as many intuitive hits from our guides, our team, our angels, but we have to be willing to actually like, oh, that actually is an intuitive hit. Like this
right.
is actually a message that's coming forward for me. And I think that it's hard to train that muscle. A lot
Mhm.
of people, but as soon as once it's on, you're like, whoo, like life it just gets easier.
It is. And the other thing too is, oftentimes when we quote ask for something or we're asking our angels, could
Right.
you give this to me? we expect it to come in with ABC. It may
Right.
not come in as ABC. It may come A, B, it may come not in the way that we're expecting it. So if
Right.
we're just asking for help, we're thinking maybe extra paycheck, a bonus, or whatever. Well, it may come in with somebody trying to just, hey, take our kids for an afternoon so we can just be
Right.
quiet. So if we're asking for help, just be open to receiving it however it comes.
Right. Right. That's a really good point. And I remember one of my mentors, she used to say, like, when you're working with your guides and your teams and your angels, and this is kind of off topic, she's like, would you much rather walk to the store or drive to the store? Like, she's like, your team is driving you to the store. Like, tap into your team. And I like how you said, be okay with how the message comes in, because it could come in, and it could be also how you're asking the question, and
Uh-huh.
what you're looking for may not be for your best and highest good. So they're going to deliver it in a way that's best for you. I always
Right.
get stuck on the how, and like how it comes in is not my problem. That's up to the universe. Like,
Right.
so, but I really like how you said that. It could come in this way, or maybe somebody takes your children for a couple hours. Like, it's so true. Like, and those are beautiful moments, like
Mm-hmm.
pockets of, oh yeah, I was present, the universe responded. I like that. I tapped in my intuition. I like it. That's good. So maybe what are some signs that someone could be spiritually bypassing instead of truly integrating? So I think sometimes we can sidestep something and not integrate it, instead of like really truly looking at it, or maybe not doing true healing like you mentioned before. I'm thinking about myself and my mom. Maybe I'm spiritually bypassing something.
Was looking at our wounds. I mean, the
Yeah.
emotional part, like I said, I keep bringing that up, but it's so important because our emotional body is giving us guidance. Is our physical
Mm,
body, our emotional body, and our physical body. If you have a physical discomfort in your body, there's emotional energy behind it. You
right.
know, and so if you're emotionally still getting triggered and you're emotionally still upset about something, if you sit with whatever it is that's
Right.
bothering you, and it's still flaring you, then the healing still needs a little bit of nudging.
You got to look back in. And
You got
I feel like I don't know about you, but sometimes you might feel like you've actually like looked at it, you've really like allowed it to come up, but there may be a deeper layer that you got to tap back into to really get that energy released.
And also, the thing is on our spiritual journey, not to get too far into like the
Of
levels
course.
of alchemy, but if you're, if you're at the first stage of spiritual alchemy, you're going to have an issue, and then you go on and you're moving up to the second stage of spiritual alchemy. That same problem may revisit again, but it may be more
Mhm.
impactful. And then, okay, you deal with it, you work with it, but then you continue to evolve. You're opening up your spiritual gifts. You're getting more connected. Then you move up the layer again, but then it may hit you once again.
Right.
So these can be layers, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Many of us,
absolutely.
the
I,
consistency things, yeah.
yeah, I like how you just said that. Like, again, it's a gentle reminder to be like, okay, we can look at this again. We can address this again.
Mhm.
Like, it could just be we're up leveling or something's changing inside of our spiritual body. And no, I like that. And you just may have to look at it again. How many times have we looked at the same thing 400 times? No, when you're
And,
complaining to your girlfriend about your boyfriend. You
but
wouldn't believe what he was doing. No, I'm just kidding.
an example though of this is like if something happened, like for me, something happened when I was 3 years old. Okay. And the thing is when that happened when I was 3 years old, it became like let's call it just a wedge in my energy body, right? A
Mm,
discorded energy or
right,
energy imbalance. But the thing is when that happened, as I grew up, that energy distortion was there, and I kept hitting it, and I'd have more issues with it. And then so if you can think about it again, going through the spiral, like it happened. So because that happened and I saw it
right,
again, then I had more angry and frustration about it when I was 5. And then something like that related to it kind of happened when I was 6 or 7. So as we're doing those emotional wounds and we remember those memories of like, oh my gosh, I remember that was so embarrassing as a kid. And then we clear and resolve that. But then something else is like, oh my gosh, when I was, 7, that happened related to that. So there's these
right,
different situations that still have that root. So it's kind of like the onion layer
right.
peeling back till I came back on this last trip. I was in White Sands and something came up from when I was 3 years old. And I remembered, I'm like, but I could see in my mind's eye like how much that one event caused other things that I've already visited and re-cleared.
Wow.
But going back to the root of like, oh my gosh, when I was 3 years old, I remembered that and just cried and I just let it out. So I felt so
Yeah.
much better after that.
Oh,
So
wow.
looking at not only the all of the things, if something keeps coming up, we got to just keep going till we get to the root.
Yeah, that you definitely have stressed that. You gotta get to the root. Gotta get
Yeah.
to the root. I
Yeah.
like that. So if someone's listening today, maybe feels disconnected from themselves right now, what is the first step you would guide them to take today?
Disconnected from themselves. I think the thing is to set everything aside and just sit for a moment and just think about being inside. We all get distracted by the things around us and we point the finger to that's my problem, that's my problem, that's my problem. But if we just sit and just maybe think about your heart beating or just consciously go through and think about your feet, your ankles, your calves, your legs, think about your torso, and just a lot of times we start meditations, we go in and we go through the body, just become present on the physical body and just find out, like, tap in and be within ourselves instead of being so, tapped into everything around us, bringing that energy back to within us.
Oh, I love that. And before I ask you the last question, if anyone is interested in booking a session with you, because you do offer some really cool sessions, or maybe because I know you also have a self-guided course that you also have up on your website, which is cool. What is the best place for them to go to?
Soulwisdomintegrations.com.
Dun, 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 dun. So, what does it truly mean to remember who you are beyond all the labels, roles, and identities we carry?
What does that mean? It's peace. When you find that, when you can get to the, when you can sit and just be with yourself and say, I am, that's, that's a wonderful feeling.
I have chills. That came in so strong. Love that. Renee, thank you so much for coming on the Spiritual Spotlight series. This truly has been amazing to connect with you today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it and had fun chatting with you.